So for those of you guys that have just tuned in, thank you so much. This is Byron from Gigabyte. Welcome, Byron, to the NAG podcast.
Thanks.
How you doing?
Good on you.
After your trips? Back to work?
Yeah. Well, that's the roll, huh?
So, Byron, it's always great hanging out with you. I fondly think of Computex over the last few years when we've kind of crossed paths and just had some great chats. So from Gigabyte, obviously, it's always exciting to speak to people that's close to the brands that we love so dearly. So, what's happening at Gigabyte these days? I mean, how's life at the big G?
Sure. I can give you some information.
It's
I think
a loaded question.
locally and internationally, there's a lot at play. Obviously,
Nice.
in international kind of scheme of things, Gigabyte's doing incredibly well. In some regions, we actually, number one in GPUs, number two in GPUs, depending. In like Eastern Europe, I found out that we were the number one brand in terms of power supplies, which in South Africa is not the
Wow.
case. We have a massive presence from Superflower and Corsair and Coolmaster and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of room to grow, obviously, for us. That's one of the areas where we just haven't really invested in South Africa. So, we don't have the team or infrastructure necessarily other regions do. And it's COVID made a lot of negative kind of impact on our company, especially locally. So it's been a long journey to try to claw back some market share and, reintroduce new products and that. So I think the main thing that's even worth mentioning, Gigabyte historically was pretty decent in terms of like our components, obviously always. And then we had notebooks in South Africa for a long time too. Due to some policy changes and pricing and that, which I think we should probably discuss again just now. Pricing is something that keeps, being affected.
Ooh, touchy.
But we decided about 2 years ago to basically exit the market in South Africa with our notebooks. And we were just about to start with monitors too, and we realized that it was not the right time. So, we focused a lot on just basically kind of our foundations, fixing where we were with motherboards and graphics cards, and got to a stage where, we're pretty happy with the results. And now the biggest kind of changes, I would say, over the past year is that we finally launched our notebooks and our monitors again in South Africa. So in December, we launched the notebooks at Amazon. And, Amazon's still obviously, developing within South Africa. So that's not our, end goal, is the only kind of place. But people don't realize how long it takes to get things going. You have to sign on distributors, figure out how to get things into the country. And obviously, retailers and resellers each have their own models, how they work. So it's taken some time, but the point is we're here. And then in terms of the monitors, last week we launched at Woodware. And I'm quite excited about it because it is one of the major focuses we'll have this year. We really focused on like the 27-inch kind of category for now, just because it's, realistically with most gamers, it's kind of the point they're looking for. So one of our SKUs started about 4,000 Rand, and it's obviously just like an IPS 27-inch 1440p, pretty standard. And then going up to about 14 grand, which is the same kind of spec, but OLED. Obviously OLED is growing in terms of not only market share, but like, popularity. Like people actually like it. I think a lot of the issues, the teething pains of like, is it going to burn in, that kind of thing, is not really a concern for people these days. There's so many protections in place. I think we've got like 10 protections on our monitors. And so it's cool. Like we finally have monitors, we finally have notebooks again. It's going to be a long journey from here to figure out how, we can make that adapt and get even bigger. But in terms of components, I'm really happy. I think maybe I can also just kind of touch on that for a second as well. In terms of the components, there's two sides to it. For
sure. But
sure.
Before we get into the components, I wanted to ask about
100%.
the notebooks, because I'm a huge fan of gaming notebooks. I've been for many decades. So what are you guys bringing in? I'm just quickly going to pop onto Gigabyte. Can you tell me about, what are you bringing in?
There's 4 models at the moment, but it's basically 2 models with 2 configs each. So there's a Gigabyte A16 that you'll find on Amazon. There's an RTX 5050 version and an RTX 5060 version. So the one you're looking at now is the 5060 version. We trying to like make it more affordable where possible. So it's not like flagship CPU in a sense with the latest generation. It's like 1 or 2 generations old, but still going for i7, still going for, decent performance. There's been a lot of controversy around Core Ultra, obviously, for the past like 2 years. So we decided to just go with what we knew worked. and then still going for a decent GPU. So that's the A16. It's, just a very
Nice.
mainstream chassis. And then there's the Aero X16 that you can look for as well. The Aero X16 starts at the 5060 and then moves up to a 5070 as well. So there's two configs there as well. And, this one is like, I believe 1600p display, full aluminium body, just really, really great build quality. And then also, this one's not running Intel, this one's actually running Ryzen. So we're trying out both. I mean, we're re-entering a market that we haven't been in for a while. So obviously we have to kind of reassess which works for us. Is it AMD? Is it Intel? We haven't sold in so long, it's hard to say what will be a guarantee. But these are the two specific kind of segments that I chose. Aero used to do incredibly well in South Africa, and I am sad because when we exited the market, there were quite a few requests on social media like, why are you getting rid of Aero? It's my favorite brand of notebook. Like, this doesn't make any sense. But again, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of logistics and pricing and competitors and manpower, and it's just, you can't always get what you want, I guess. But yeah, we're back, and I'm hoping for some success there. I think for now, it's obviously not where we want to be in its totality in terms of just Amazon. I've myself only started using Amazon in South Africa every now and then. Takealot was bigger for me, on a personal front. And in terms of components, obviously there's Wootware, there's EveTech, there's Dreamware Tech, there's so many other Progenics, So with notebooks, they have their own customer base too. Incredible Connection and Computer Mania and that. So there's a lot of legwork that needs to be done this year to figure out where we'll expand. And I'm pretty sure by the end of this year we'll probably be in 2 or 3 retailers. But yeah, Amazon was just the entry point. I think that they obviously want to try to establish themselves in South Africa, so it was a good timing for them to bring on a new brand like us. I say new, but obviously, we're old but new at the same time. And so we both had a lot to gain. We both had a lot to gain out of the relationship for sure. We'll see where it goes. And if you want to obviously test one out, I can send one your way. That's not a problem. If that
I was going to keep that for the after show conversation. Yeah, no, we'd love to obviously get our hands on those at some point. Looking at your components and the other things that you guys are doing, what's quite strong for Gigabyte these days in South Africa? What is a thing that fans are asking for the most?
I think what's interesting. Okay, so if we look at graphics cards, let me separate it into graphics cards and then motherboards. If we look at graphics cards, the most growth we've had has been Radeon. We've really, we basically more than doubled in the past year in terms of our market share and sales and everything like that for Radeon. We really pushed very, very hard at Wootware specifically, you can see. Progenics as well was one of them. Takealot even had some of our stock throughout last year. But NVIDIA is still a bigger segment for us. So I think just NVIDIA historically has been so massive in South Africa for the past decade that, even with the growth of Radeon, it's still going to take some time to potentially catch up. But obviously, the RX 9070 XT was just such an insane value for money card internationally, locally, with us and every other brand involved, that it became our number one seller for last year by a long shot. It's just we just introduced the white versions of them at the end of last year as well, which you can see, and that the first one sold out day one kind of thing. So it's definitely a growing segment, and it's something that you're going to see a lot more of this year. We very likely will have another actual design of our GPUs later on in the year. So if you saw at CES, we had this Infinity card, that 5090. There was one that had the kind of Founders Edition kind of look to it. There's a good chance that we'll expand on that kind of line as its own segment. So we've got Gaming OC, we've got Aero, Aorus Master, and now we'll have that Infinity. So, whether or not we get Radeon for that is another story. I'm not sure at this stage, but I wouldn't be surprised with the success we've had. Yeah. So, and then in terms of RTX 50 series, I think the biggest problem with it right now is that NVIDIA has basically been all over the place with what they've kind of given information to partners and also media. So I know you guys would have seen that, there was a lot of talk last year. Oh, the 5060 Ti is going to be cancelled. The 5070 Ti is going to be cancelled. There's a lot of conflicting information. And,
Mm.
we obviously, like, I don't run the company. I'm just an employee and I have to kind of wait for the official information from our own head office. And at this stage, it's very clear that there's going to have to be some changes with GeForce cards in this year, be it stock availability or pricing or just certain models becoming end of life. There's clear indication that there's going to be a bit more of a struggle this year with GeForce. It's not a pleasant situation to be in, but it's not a uniquely Gigabyte situation whatsoever. It's an
Well,
industry-wide kind
Nvidia
of
has
thing.
has already said their
Yeah.
focus is AI, right? So
Yeah.
as much as what we'll talk about is GeForce now, and we'll chat about AI too.
Sure.
I mean, and I also think, I mean, when they say they're focusing on AI, doesn't mean they're neglecting gaming. So I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate here too.
Sure.
The
Look, I
AI
mean,
side of it, but it feels like Nvidia is losing its GeForce-ness, what made it the
yeah,
gamer's best toy.
it's definitely frustrating because, we all grew up, a lot. I think in South Africa, we're very fortunate. We've kind of had access to everything, even though it may have been delayed, it may have been overpriced. We've always had every kind of generation of NVIDIA and AMD card, since even back ATI kind of days. And
Mm.
it has been very sad for someone like me who's, been a gamer my whole life to kind of just see the focus being shifted. And it does seem like it's lost. But in the same breath, right? Like, if we ignore AI as a word and we ignore everything that's happening in the industry, it's hard to ignore. But I'm just saying there's obviously negatives attached to the consumer side of it. There's been developments because of it. I mean, like, DLSS 4.5 just like launched, and it seems like it's pretty incredible. And if it wasn't for AI, we wouldn't have access to this. And there's a counter argument. I know a lot of people say that it's an excuse, and there'll people say, "Oh man, graphics cards used to run everything perfectly. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2 looked so incredible. It didn't need ray tracing. We didn't need technologies like DLSS. It's only since Cyberpunk and developers, developers don't know what they're doing. Unreal Engine 5 sucks." Like, there's so much negativity that comes out of it. But then in the same breath, it's like, what do you guys expect? Like, do you expect everyone to create their own game engines every single day? Like, there has to be shortcuts if people want to try to enter industries quicker and to be able to push out things in a faster manner, because it's a horrible thing that we're living in a time that's so consumeristic that everyone expects tomorrow, the new thing, and everyone expects there to be a new major AAA game launch every single month, and turnaround time for a game has to be reduced, costs have to be reduced. There's going to be shortcuts, and I'm not advocating for using shortcuts. It's the reality of the world we live in. So rather than having a hot mess of a game because there's been tools that have been used to make it faster, at least something like DLSS and FSR is making it it's kind of like bringing it back to some degree, giving us back that performance, giving us like ways of running games at higher frame rates. Like, come on, like when we grew up, people played games at 30 or 60 FPS, and that was it. Like, if I could run Fear at 60 FPS when it came out, that was an incredible experience for me.
Just can imagine, yeah.
Nowadays it's like a new game comes out and you're not running 120 FPS. What is wrong with you? Like, it's just things have changed.
It's something I do think about often when I test hardware. Because you always put yourself in the shoes. Would I buy this? Right? Is this something I'd put in
Yeah,
my personal machine?
it's very hard.
And if you look at 4K, 200 frames per second gaming, or 120 frames, or whatever, 165 frames, whatever high-end PC you want to think
Yeah.
of, that is not the average gamer's setup.
No, not
Most
at
people
all.
still play on 1080p. And we can get away with a lot. And I would also argue most people are playing older games in any case off the back of that,
Yeah.
right? You play your AAA when it comes out, but for the most part during the year when you're playing your comfort food games, you'll fall back on, like I'm doing, Red Dead Redemption 2, and your massive library of games you've had for 20 years.
For sure.
So I can see why NVIDIA is doing what they're doing. And I do support the whole AI movement because I think it's going to be the best tool that we've had in terms of technology. But people can use tools for good and tools for bad.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts about AI to try to get myself kind of more informed. And there's definitely one thing that's been worrying, like concerning a bigger issue than I think people realize. And I have a child. So my child's 6 years old. She's just entering kind of school now. And there's no way AI won't be part of her schooling. Like it's going to be a guarantee, right? Now, the thing is, like when we were kids, we had to get drilled in the idea of having to study. And we would have this information kind of regurgitated over and over and over until you get it right. These days, there's no kind of try and try again. It's prompt and prompt again. And the second you're done with that prompt and you have the information, it's lost to you because you didn't actually find it, discover it, calculate it yourself. So some people in podcasts, have mentioned that there's been some studies where they've taken a selection of two groups of people. One group of people were allowed to use AI to formulate ideas and write scripts and, do all sorts of things. And another group of people were basically just the old school way of doing it, manual entry, etc. 6 months later, they go and test these people on the knowledge again. The people that did it themselves, a major significant amount of them could recall what the idea was. Depending on what like their lifestyle was, they could at least tell you what they did. In terms of the AI side of it, almost no one was able to tell you what they did because they were like, yeah, it was a project I did with AI. I don't recall the details, but I did well. And that's the concern I have, is that the way people are using AI is extremely bad in terms of like a general audience. So let me give you, again, two scenarios. So let's say you're busy work. Okay, your scenario, you're what do you call it, a media, and you received a new product. So I'm just trying to find something on my desk. Okay, cool. I've got this. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it'll probably blur out. I've got an
Oh,
Anbernic,
nice. Yes.
like a little
Nice purchase.
handheld, right? So you could test it out, obviously, and you can test it out and you can see all the different things about this product. And you can go into ChatGPT and say, write me a script, right? And you could get away with it, to be fair. You could just say, write me a script, and it'll give you a script, and you can film what you want out of it, and that's it. And the problem is with that mentality is you kind of lose touch of what you're actually doing. You forget how things work. The second that AI model is down, you're screwed. You won't be able to do anything. What people need to do instead is go, cool, let me test this thing out. I don't trust my own language skills. My grammar is not, the best. English is my third language, whatever the case is. Write your script. Write what you think makes sense. Test the product. Take it to ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever model you're using, and saying, can you find some glaring issues with this? Are there maybe any grammar things that I need to work on? Because look, spell check and that has existed for years, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But
it's contextually what AI can do well. And this is how I use a lot of Effect, to combine ideas and understand things. So if I'm
use it for advice,
4.5,
right?
Explain to me how this works in relation to what we had before versus what AMD's ability. You can't do that in Google. So I can, that's how I speak to if I'm trying to understand complex scenarios.
Yeah.
But again, to your example of people using AI like that, again, if you just use it for a tool and you're not actually, they probably didn't even read their own work after that and fixed it. That's where the memory recall is lost because you aren't engaging with your content. And
exactly,
that's a problem.
And that's the thing. It's you need to use it as a conversation. Imagine a two-way streak where you're asking it questions. That I almost recommend most people, if you use ChatGPT, use it in the voice model because then it's going to be conversational. And the thing is, then you can learn from it realistically. But I know not everyone wants it. They want to copy paste. It's just, the thing is, it's like, I guess it's like the idea of vaping, right? Vaping is clearly better than cigarettes, but we don't really know what will happen 60 years from now to people that vape, right? There might be new forms of cancer. It can't seem natural that there'll be no side effects, right? And I'm not like, saying don't vape. It's just at the end of the day, everything has consequences. And I think what scares me is that there's a chance that we're going to have, early onset dementia because people just don't use their brain in the same way they used to. There's just, look, there's actually a product I want to tell you about. So I can't recall the exact name, but the guys that make Pebble, if you remember the watches, they've come back.
I remember the pin, the AI pin.
Not that one. It was these watches. So they're making a new ring. There's this new ring that you can wear, and it's basically got a button, and you can just press the button and like kind of say to it, remind me to get the groceries, do this, that kind of thing, and it becomes like a second brain for you in terms of like your memory. And for someone like me who I don't have the best like short-term memory, to be honest, it seems like an incredible tool. But my reliance on something like that could lead to me having like literally no short-term memory. It just wouldn't be important. There you go. So this ring, you press a button, it has a microphone built into it, and it'll just basically connect to an LLM if you wanted to, and then like I say, do whatever you want to do in terms of like memory. So in this meeting, let's say for an example now, I mentioned that Aero X16. I can just quickly just tap, the button on the side of my finger and just say, send Regarde Aero X16 next week. And then at least like after everything I've done in the day, I go check the summary of my day and there was that information. But the problem is like I'm relying on these machines to such an insane degree that there has to be consequence. Of course, there's going to be consequence long term, but yeah,
we've seen the same. I agree, but we've seen this before AI already. AI is just making it a more adaptable. Everybody can jump onto AI and use it a lot easier than people could jump onto the first computer to use Office or jump onto your smartphone, because your smartphone is essentially that thing, right? Where
I send WhatsApps to my wife of these things that to remind me at the end of the day. It's the same kind of idea, right? Yeah.
Or
Look,
hey Siri, remind me to speak to Byron about next week's product demo.
Exactly.
And
so
it's doing it now. And that's what I use it often for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a good and a bad. That's what I'm trying to say.
Tell me that you're doing it.
I think there's a good and a bad. Like the bad is that we could be so reliant on it that we kind of forget how to do things ourselves, and we're going to train our children on these ways of doing it, and not memory recall. But the good of it is, you get older, your memory sucks, and you get distracted, and there's so many different things in life, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to get stuff done. So I say, remind me to do this thing. It will be helpful. So I'm scared almost of, like, let's say sub 18 people, utilizing these tools and not knowing how to live without them. Whereas like for an adult, like they can really be an incredible thing to do, because here's the other side to it, right? Like you become more productive, you don't miss deadlines. There's all positives to it. It's just, I think that a lot of people, there's a lot of hype, and there's a lot of companies that just are interested in getting a ton of money at the end of the day. And, okay, sorry, just reel it back for a second. In my trip last week in Egypt, AI was one of the major things that was brought up a lot of the time. Of course, we're a company that's invested in AI in terms of internally and externally. And we actually had a product manager of the new AI PC stuff there. And I went to him and I said to him, look, like, what is your take? Like I was asking a lot of questions on different people. And I think the cool thing is there's companies that basically want to utilize AI to help people to develop cool things. And that's what Gigabyte's doing. We can give you the hardware side to it to enable you, right? And there's other companies that at the end of the day are just looking for seed funding. They might not actually have an idea behind it. There's no real plan in place. It's just, hey, if we slap the word AI on this, things are going to be more profitable. And I think that's like the dangerous side to it, but there can also be the awesome side, like people developing new tools. The fact that this like clawback thing came out last week, which is renamed like 3 times now, and people can actually create tools just like sending a WhatsApp to their own AI and say, I need a benchmarking software that helps me take my Excel and move it to PowerPoint, whatever. And just like you can explain things and get something made for you. There's incredible things that can come out of it. It's just, there's the evil, I don't want to say evil, but you know what I'm saying, like the negative side and the good side.
The nefarious side and people using it as shortcuts where
100%.
You shouldn't really. I mean, you see these videos on TikTok of people doing interviews, right, for a programming job. And obviously they've got
it's right there
AI
next to it.
on their phone or whatever. Yeah. I mean, very intuitive, very clever way of using technology to get ahead, but it's not going to benefit you in the long run if you don't know how to do the job, right? Yeah. 100%. So in terms of AI, if we look at, and this is something I always, it just kind of sticks in the back of my mind. Like, we don't need AI in everything, but when I look at computer brands, we're seeing a lot of it. So when we look at a motherboard with AI in it, what makes that AI a good function of that motherboard as opposed to just a piece of code that tells it to monitor the temperature?
Okay, so I definitely think that even our own brand is obviously one of the ones that has fallen into the trap of the name at times, right? So I think there's 2 sides to it. So algorithms were the word we would use in the past. Obviously, input amount of data based on what that data is, it would then process a different outcome. And if you think of it this way, so the algorithm for your fan curve on a system based on the amount of, let's say, thermal headroom you have available, the performance that you're looking for, and obviously how long it's been running, all those different factors in would then set your fan speed, right? That's an algorithm. An algorithm doesn't learn, though. An algorithm is just set in place. If this, then that.
Rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Rinse, repeat. Now, the thing is, okay, an AI model that basically does the same thing would learn. So in the sense of, let's say you're doing something like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, and you're doing an export. That kind of thing, obviously, is going to be performance over time, which equals heat, which means that you need the fans to ramp up, right? But the thing is, based on your activity and the kind of things that you do over time, let's say you do short form, so your render's only 60 seconds, or you do long form and your renders are 10 minutes, the algorithm can adapt itself, and it would know not to ramp the fans up to 100% with this 100% performance when you're doing short-term videos, because the thing is, it knows that it's usually a short burst, and it can probably manage and sustain that load for that minute of time. So that's the difference. And I didn't know that 2 years ago, because I also thought it's a silly argument. It's just an algorithm. It's something that's existed for 20 years. The difference is that it can know, yes, that's the expected output, but realistically, the way you utilize your PC doesn't necessarily require that. And it would learn on your usage. So obviously, it can fail too. But the thing is, once it adapts over time, once it knows how things work, when you go and you click render on that TikTok video you have, your fans don't just automatically go to 100% the way they used to. Now it's going to slowly trickle up, and it knows what to expect. It might get a little bit hotter. Maybe it runs at its TJ max of 95 degrees versus 85 before, but it's for like 5 seconds. And then it goes back down, you know? So the thing is, that's kind of the side to it where algorithms and AI do exist side by side. And depending on how a company implements it, it can truly be AI, or it can just be rebranded algorithm. So there's a lot of things that are just being rebranded because it's like, well, you know, it's going to sell the product. Now, another example of what I just said, you know, AI Top, that's Gigabyte's kind of naming scheme for our products that have to do with AI. So I saw you looking just now at one of the AI Top motherboards. It will have features like what I said. So instead of just ramping a fan up because of an input, it's over time what it's learned, what it's been able to do, and it will actually train itself in terms of that fan curve, right? Another side to it too is that the AI Top boards that we have are basically the ones that have been designed for AI tasks at hand as its main focus. So what that means is like the power efficiency over time, you know, the way that it's going to basically set, let's say, the curvature of like the voltage and frequency of the CPU and that kind of thing is different from the standard models. So it's what they've learned over time, what kind of thing AI tasks do to a CPU, to a GPU, that kind of idea. That's the AI Top side to it. It's basically just like a different profile at the end of the day. I'm aware that most of the time it's just a profile, but it's also, like I said, not as simple as just an algorithm. It's an algorithm that adapts itself based on your usage. And yeah, I think, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, go. I was just going to say, can we just take a moment and talk about the screen on this motherboard? Like, yeah, damn, son, that looks amazing. Is that obviously to display information and images, whatever you want to do inside your case? Because that's been a 100%. Big trend now. Is screens on everything. Separate screens and screens, built in. What do you think of that trend?
I do like it as well. I'm a little bit frustrated that like Wallpaper Engine hasn't actually worked with us and some other brands as well, because the biggest annoyance for me is I actually did a build for a friend last year, and there were like 7 screens, and every single thing has to be individually managed and changed every single time. And like almost everyone I know is using Wallpaper Engine. So I just wish there was a company that would like wake up to this and go, cool, let's like create profiles of all these different things you want to add as one configuration and then go change it. Because like, man, it's like definitely people used to just change their wallpaper, right? And it's a way of kind of like a new fresh feeling. Change your mouse pad is like, it costs you money, right? And now having a screen, being able to change information that like, okay, here's the take, right? Looking at the temperature of your PC is like the first thing everyone does on these AIO screens, on these motherboard screens, that kind of thing. But like, let's be real, right? Like, you're not going to like sit staring at it all day. That doesn't make any sense. It's just a feature that exists.
It's an aesthetic. It's like a brand name in your car. Yeah, it's like a
100%.
Sticker, you know, Goodyear tires or whatever.
Yeah, the thing is, it's more about the wallpaper at the end of the day. It's more like the image, the changes, and that kind of thing that just really looks cool. A new game comes out, you want to change everything on your system to be that game. man, like, okay, cool, go open IQ, go open Gigabyte Control Center, go open this, go. It's wild. So that's
We
like the
just
next thing
need.
I would love to see change.
I agree. I mean, we just need to get AI to write the app for us. But I think
Hey, great
the
idea there.
only thing, yeah, we can do it now if we had the time. The only thing we need to put on these screens, to be honest with you, is just the matrix code. There's nothing else needed.
Just like the pouring down.
Just the falling, the woman in the red dress.
Yeah.
Byron, it's always great chatting to you. I wish we could have another half hour of conversation, and I think we probably should set up another chat because there's so many other topics that I would love to touch on with you. For people that don't know you, where can they reach you and get hold of you?
I think the most important one is just Aurus_ZA on most of the social media for Gigabyte. That's really what we want to push, obviously, is our brand. And go check out our monitors at Wootware and our notebooks at Amazon. It's something new, and I hope to get some cool feedback on them.
Excellent. And do you want to talk about any of the other things you do on the side?
Yeah, I mean, I might as well.
For another conversation. Oh, yeah, go for it.
Let's leave it for a separate conversation another day, for sure.
Oh, keep the mystery alive. Yes, done.
Sure.
Let's do it.
100%.
Byron, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And look forward to getting some hands-on time with some of that Gigabyte notebooks. That'll be amazing.
I appreciate it too. Thank you very much.